Sally and Spotlight you and me. Hi, everyone. All right. We are almost ready to kick off, just making sure everyone's in from the waiting room. All right, so welcome guys to our Inspired Series gluten-free baking edition. Tonight you have Kerrie and Debra and Sally and myself presenting for you, and all four of us eat gluten-free food. So we're happy to answer any questions that you have, so feel free to type them into the chat, and we'll pick those up as we go through the cooking today. So we've got pretty cool menu, things that a lot of people maybe struggle to make if they're new to gluten-free. We're going to talk about how we like to substitute as well. So you're not just limited to the gluten-free cooking that you've got as options in your filters in Cookie Do. And yeah, so we're happy to share our knowledge. So Sally, you are going to kick us off. Let's go.
Thank you, Claire. Welcome, everyone. I'm Sally. I am based on the far south coast in Mobberley, and I've been a consultant for 10 years now and a team leader for just over 2. So I became gluten-free about 20 odd years ago, and it wasn't until the TM31 when my youngest was 10, he's now 24, so 14 years ago, I discovered the ease of making allergies and gluten-free possible. My daughters were also gluten-free, diagnosed quite early on, so we've led a gluten-free life. But simple things like the pasta dough, I actually only discovered about a year and a half ago. So it was something I never gave a go to. I just used to resort to packets, didn't really like it much. And it wasn't until some friends came from Melbourne, they really wanted to go and buy fresh pasta. Our nearest fresh pasta is a long journey away. So we thought we'd make fresh pasta in the Thermomix, and then I did a gluten-free one after that because I couldn't bear eating dinner with our cousins and family and not eating as well. So I learned how to make it then. So I'm kicking off with a gluten-free pasta, and then from there I'm going in to make a sort of a dish that you can see come together, which is the tagliatelle with pumpkin. You'll also see some open cooking. So with the gluten-free pasta, I'm just going to switch my camera around now. We have some very simple ingredients. In fact, the recipe is just the pasta dough on the basic cookbook or your TM7 manifesto. It's exactly the same recipe, but we're adding 1 egg, and we're adding in, an extra egg, and we're adding in some xanthan gum.
So Sally, I've shared the recipe from Cookie Do. I can't share your created recipe via this platform because it won't be through the app. So yeah, so that's the only change you're making. Yes. Is an egg yolk and xanthan gum.
1 extra egg, so instead of the 2 eggs, it's 3 eggs, and 200 grams of the gluten-free flour, which I'll explain a little bit about as well. And there's 1 teaspoon of xanthan gum, which is a binder for the gluten-free flours blends. Gluten-free flours usually have a blend of different flours in them to make them work, so we can go more into that later on as well. I'm just going to get this into the next stage. So I've just got the plain flour, the gluten-free blend, the xanthan gum, 3 eggs, 1 tablespoon of olive oil, and that goes straight into the kneading mode for 2 minutes, and that's it. So very simple, and then after that dough mode, I'll show you how it rests, and we'll go from there. So over to Claire, we thought we'd show the milling of the grain.
Yeah, so I'm going to make for you guys the gluten-free pizza base. This is the one that I tend to make. It's and by the way, I'm Claire. For those of you who don't know me, I've been doing Thermomix for about 15 years, and I started out with the TM31. You know, health has always been a bit of a priority for me in my life, and so I got involved in Thermomix came on to earn mine because I couldn't afford it at the time and stuck around. So yeah, I've been doing this for a while. I've been eating gluten-free probably for about 10 years now. Actually, a colleague of mine who used to do Thermomix, she was like, you should go gluten-free and sugar-free. And I'm like, no, no, couldn't possibly. There's nothing wrong with me. And then obviously I realized how good life was without those two things in it. So I'm going to make the gluten-free breakfast pizza base with you guys. I'll just get it started so that we can jump back to Sally. So the first thing I'm going to do is mill up some rice. It says to use brown rice and glutinous rice. I tend to sort of make healthier swaps with everything that I make, and so I've chosen to use black rice and brown rice. Just slightly different, more fiber, and it's good to diversify the ingredients in your diet. So that goes in, and all I do there is I mill that for 2 minutes. So my Zoom's going to cut out when that happens. But yeah, so Sally, let me know when you're ready, and I'll just quickly, you done?
I've got 10 seconds.
Okay, cool. Gosh, you can't fit much in 2
That's all
minutes,
right.
can you?
So I'm just going to, the next step is basically to pop the dough onto a mat to rest. That's the important thing with gluten-free dough. So this is the new Thermomat, which you can get as a host reward at the moment. Okay, so basically the next step. So this blend of flour is from my whole food shop where I live. However, I've done some research because I knew I'd asked him earlier, so I'm just using that to twizzle that out. It's called the Orgran flour blend, so you can buy it in Coles and you can buy it online as well. And it's basically a blend of different flours, which includes maize, rice, tapioca, rice bran, and guar gum. So that's in this flour. All right, so all I'm doing is just making it into a little ball. That's it. And it's going to rest. It should rest for 15 minutes, because that's kind of a secret, I think, with gluten-free blends, is allowing the pastas to just rest and let them sit, because they're much more pliable then to work with. So, whoops, bumping around. Okay, so that's just, I'm going to set my timer on the Thermomix as well for that. So we can come back and go from there. Claire's just muting. Yes, so this is the Orgran blend of flour. So, are you back, Claire?
I'm still being quite noisy over here.
Oh, of course, you've got 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's right. It's done. It's done. I stopped at 4 seconds to go.
Excellent.
So I didn't hear any of that you were just saying.
Yes, I explained about the Orgran. It's from a whole food shop or from Coles, and that's the type of heavier flour for pastas and doughs.
Nice, awesome. Just making sure you weren't calling on me. Okay, so here's the black rice and the brown rice milled up. 2 minutes for rice. It's quite, if you want it really soft, not too grainy. So that one is done. Now that did it actually at speed 8 for this one. You could potentially go up to speed 10. It does just heat it up a little bit more. So Sally, am I going to continue with this, or you? Yeah, okay, cool. Now the next thing we're going to add is potato starch. You've got gluten-free corn flour. I just put in arrowroot because I've got more of that in my home. This one does have xanthan gum in it, so there's a teaspoon of xanthan gum, 1 to 2 teaspoons of salt. So all of those ingredients are in. And then it just says a tablespoon of white vinegar. Now, I always just use apple cider because that's always on my bench. And then we mix that up. So we were talking about substitutions for xanthan gum. You can do guar gum as a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you've got guar gum, it's slightly different to xanthan. Some people are intolerant to xanthan gum. You can also use 2 teaspoons of psyllium husks, for every 1 teaspoon that it asks for of xanthan. So psyllium will act as a binder as well. All right, so I've just mixed up my dry ingredients in there. And then I've got so the next few things is some olive oil, some warm water, and a little bit of white sugar, which it says 20 grams. I did about a teaspoon. Well, normally I don't even put the sugar in. Actually, I was going to show you guys this. This is one of the new thermo jugs in the mix shop. So it's a thermal insulated jug. And I had my water warming there since a couple of hours ago. So that is, and it pours beautifully through the spout, nice and controllable. And then I've got some yeast and a little tiny bit of sugar. All right, so I'm going to mix that speed 4, about 15 seconds. So back to my journey of going gluten-free, sugar-free. Yeah, so there was actually, I didn't think there was anything wrong with me. And then I wanted to be as healthy as I could. And so I learned that that was a healthy way to go. Happy to adjust my diet. And so once I started that journey, I then went and did, microbiome testing just to see, out of curiosity, what my gut was like. And I actually did have leaky gut and, lots of issues in my gut that I didn't even know weren't presenting for me in a way that was obvious. So it was actually a very useful journey for me going gluten-free. I can tolerate gluten, I just choose not to. So this is my pizza dough. Usually when you do gluten-free, it's not like a kneading dough. So a lot of you guys would already have experienced that if you tend to cook gluten-free. If you don't, then this might be a new concept to you. So once you've done your dough, what I'm just going to show you is how I would prepare that. So I'd get 2 or 3 pieces of baking paper and I'd line them up on my bench. And I'm just going to portion this into, about 2 or 3 pieces, blobs. So I'm going to put it into the center of my baking paper. And I reckon for me, this one will go into 3. I don't like my pizzas too thick, especially this type of texture. So I'm just going to do that for a moment. And then once I've got that, so it can sometimes be firmer, just depends on the ingredients that you use. I find mine is always a little bit softer. And then I'm just going to spray that with some oil. Okay. From there, I usually have a bit of oil on my hands. And I'm just going to press that down. I find if I have oil on my hands, it doesn't stick. So just make it nice and oily. And then I will simply put another piece of baking paper on and I just gently roll that, just really gently because it's quite soft. I think the recipe might actually ask for you to leave it to prove. I never bother. I just find that I might leave it like once it's rolled out to prove a little bit. However, I par bake this one. All right, I'm just going to smooth that out to the thickness that I want it. Sally made these for us. We had a retreat last week in Vorley Point. Sally made these for us because we did a pizza night. And I just found them a little bit too thick for me. But yeah, you can choose your own thickness. So once I've got that, maybe not quite enough oil on there, I would then put that on my baking tray. So this is also one of our rose gold pizza trays from the mix shop. It's really solid, like it's quite heavy, which is what I love. And then that's just going to go in my oven and par bake. All right, so I'll do the other one of those soon. I'll finish those in a moment. So I'm going to par bake them, hot oven, probably only for like 5 to 10 minutes. Like you don't want them to be, I've par baked them too much before where they're just like crack. But you know, if you're going to bake them again with toppings on, you don't want to have too much. So just a gentle, so it's still soft, not quite cooked yet, but enough to then I can freeze those or use them. Sally.
Those pizza trays are great for gluten-free bases. They help bring that crust up. So often or occasionally with gluten-free, you might not get a crust, but they definitely help crisp the base as well.
Where are you up to? Because I've got my bread.
No, I'm good because I'm still cooking in the background as well. So I've still got a couple of minutes for the resting. So do you want to
Okay.
keep going?
Yeah, I'll keep going. So what I'm going to show you guys now is the gluten-free artisan bread. I make this one all the time. Um, so and I kind of change it up as I go. The general rule with gluten-free is four types of grains or seeds or, things that are going to help add texture. Like if you were making a loaf, you're never going to just use all potato starch or all corn flour or all buckwheat. It becomes too heavy and dense. So you want at least four different things. I make this loaf all the time and I tend to just mix it up. So, trying to have variety in your microbiome. So one I love is cassava flour. It's got a beautiful texture. Teff as well, which is an Ethiopian grain, a gluten-free grain. I love buckwheat as well. So they're probably my three favorite ones that I like to work with. Um, and so in this one, you do make a paste out of psyllium husks and water. It's quite a lot of psyllium husks. You'll probably have, a ball this big of the psyllium husks. It's about 40 grams. So that becomes your binding agent. Then you've got some yeast, some honey, a bit of vinegar, and the flours in this recipe are brown rice flour, which it says to use already milled. Buckwheat flour, which I tend to just go out and mill my own buckwheat, potato starch, and then it's got salt, oil, and water. So this particular one that I've done today, which I'm about to turn out for you guys, here's my bowls. I milled up some buckwheat and some chickpeas together to make my buckwheat chickpea mix of flour. I added some teff flour, some cassava, potato starch, arrowroot, and I think that's all. So yeah, I kind of just, as long as you've got 660 grams worth of flours, then you'll be fine. And sometimes I write them down and I'm like, hopefully this is my best one. But I didn't write this one down, I just did it. Okay, so you can see here it has doubled in size. This is the large bowl of the set of 3 mixing bowls from the mix shop. So this is the large one. It's been in there for a couple of hours because I was nice and early getting that done. I might actually just put that on a piece of baking paper. Probably need a slightly big one. So all I do is tip that out and you can see it's sort of the shape of the bowl that it was in. Now my next thing is I'm just going to cut that. So I like to do 2 loaves. Sally also does. Sally makes this loaf as well. We both found that the full loaf is just a little bit too big and it spreads out and almost, it becomes a big flat loaf instead of 2 sort of high loaves. So you can see it's got the bubbles inside already. It won't rise a lot in the oven. So you want to keep that sort of texture. You won't be able to do much with it once it's set. So you can sort of squash it and create a little bit of shape, but you won't do too much of that. Now I have a cast iron pot in the oven. We've got 3 cast iron pots in our range. This is the shape for the Dutch oven. Just going to get it out. There's a round one which you can do casseroles and things in. And there's also a lasagna dish, which is amazing. So this has been in a hot oven, just preparing for me to put my bread in. Now I am going to put some baking paper in.
The trick is getting it into that Dutch oven. So if you don't have a Dutch oven, you can certainly use just a tray as well. But this definitely helps the kind of crust as well, or the finish of the
Well,
bread.
that's it. Yeah, like Sally, normally I just put it on a tray,
Hmm.
and it's fine. But I have done it in the Dutch oven before and
Yeah.
it's great. So
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I'm just going to put these on the baking paper like this. So I'm just going to shape that one a little bit more. It does say you can score them, but what I might do, because these have been proving for quite a while, I probably don't need to prove them anymore. But you can just do a little bit of a score if you want, just to put a bit of shape in. All right, we're going to go in there. Now, Sally, do you do the spray with water?
Yes, I do. Yes.
All right, and it says to also cover them with brown rice flour, which I find gives it a nice texture. So I'm just going to cover those. And I don't think I can trust any of my spray bottles because who knows what's in them.
To be honest, I just get the tap and just go like that.
Okay, cool.
And it works.
You do that in the pot like this?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. And what does that do?
It just helps the crust, I believe, or a bit of, steam as well, but you've got the lid on.
Okay, awesome. Now I'm just going to try and move this over so you guys can sort of see that. Can't hold all these things. One sec. All right, so there's my 2 loaves in my pot, and I'm just going to put my lid on, which is super hot, so don't forget that that's hot. And don't forget that the sides are hot too. The other thing you can get with these are little grippy things. So I really like these. Just means that when I forget that it's hot, I don't burn my fingers. And that's going to go back
in the
oven.
oven. Yeah, Quirky Jo has some great gluten-free recipes as well, and she talks about the steam on the tray, that you sort of put an oven tray in the oven to create the steam, and it just helps the bread, especially gluten-free bread, form that crust.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, because it doesn't have the same sort of crust as like a traditional sourdough.
Yeah. Okay, so do you want to keep going, Claire, or shall I just
I'm pretty much done for now, so you take over.
Okay, so I'm just going to get it to a stage and explain what we do next, and then as I'm a work in progress with my pasta classic machine, I'm sure we can get on to another presenter. But the key is now it's rested, basically is making it workable. So I generally, with this, because I'm using a pasta machine, which I'll show you in a moment, I'm just going to work it into thirds on that half and thirds here. It's just easier to work with. Now, if you don't have a pasta machine, again, I love this recipe to make sort of like lasagna sheets. You can just hand do them with a rolling pin and then cut them into the spaghetti sort of fettuccine strips as you want to. But basically what I'm going to do is just kind of do a little bit of rolling first, just to get the shape going. So you can either do it like that and get it all the way as you would like it, or as the Italians do, also this is often a family affair when we make our pastas, so we all get involved. It's a little bit like how you sort of hand do it this way as well. So I'm just going to start off like this. Now, usually when we use a pasta machine, I find it gives a better, even sort of like tagliatelle or fettuccine strip. Tagliatelle, basically those sorts of pastas are all egg-based, but you can do gluten-free pastas that don't have egg in them as well. But tagliatelle is slightly wider and fettuccine is slightly thinner. That's the only difference. So basically I'll be working with those with different ones, but as I change my camera angle and show you the pasta machine here. So again, those friends of ours that came to stay went to the markets and found this pasta machine. Now, I know we don't stock them on the mix shop at the moment, but you can certainly buy this sort of classic machine, or you can also get a machine that's basically an electronic machine as well. So I'm just going to start working this, and then as I go, I can sort of swap over the camera, and I'm sure Claire will get someone else started. So I'm just going to sort of make the pasta as we go through the different presenters now, and you'll see it all come together. So it's a case of just sort of feeding it through to get that nice width. And again, I can just make it a little bit smaller. And you just kind of keep working the pasta as you go. And again, as you can see with the gluten-free pasta, it really is a nice soft pasta to work with, whereas usually with gluten-free pastas, they can be a lot harder to work with. I need to get that going. Let's do one more. So again, if this was going on a lasagna, I'd just sort of basically feed it straight onto the lasagna baking tray with the layers as I go.
So Sally, we've just got a question around the pasta machine.
Yep.
Do you only ever use it for gluten-free pasta, or do
Oh
you
gosh, well, we're not celiac, so this machine will do both ways if we were doing generally normal pasta as well. Yeah.
So if they were celiac, you would not be using the same.
I would have a different device, yes.
Yeah.
So, but happy, Claire, for you to keep going with another presenter, because this will take a little bit of time as I feed through my pasta. And usually 2 people on this is better. So I will be a little bit like, you know, juggling my pasta dishes as I go. But I tend to find then the flour in the dish as well, just to separate it as I go.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, we're going to Debra.
Right.
Deb, I'm just going to spotlight you. And I'll leave Sally on.
Yep.
I'm happy to take myself off. I'll just remove me so we can watch you, Sal. Okay, Deb, over to you. What are you making for us? Tell us your story.
I'll tell you my story. Well, hi everyone, I'm Debra. I've been a Thermomix consultant since the beginning of this year. I have had Thermomixes since 2011, so I'm one of the TM31 tribe. I've been eating gluten-free for 10 years, and for that reason I wouldn't be without my Thermomix. So today we're going to do healthy banana bread, which is a really, really quick recipe to prepare, and then you just put it in the oven for on 160 for 1 hour. So I've got my loaf tin already here, ready to go. The first ingredient is buckwheat flour, which I milled this myself from buckwheat groats, which are much more versatile. If you have them as the groat, you can do whatever you want. And there is a tip on this recipe about how to do that. So we've got 225 grams of buckwheat flour. We've got coconut sugar, but I'm just using raw sugar today. Bicarb soda, baking powder, and cinnamon. I've got all in together. I'll just tick those off, and then a little bit of salt. And we're going to mix that for 5 seconds. Okay, now this recipe says add rolled oat, which I just leave out. And it doesn't change the texture or anything. Desiccated coconut, 20 grams, or a bit more. And some chia seeds. And we just, again, mix that very quickly. Okay, and we're almost at the end of this recipe. So we've got 3 ripe bananas broken up. You can use you can freeze them. So freeze your really ripe bananas. and then they obviously become liquidy and can go into there. Some people prefer, in my family, prefer the liquidy ones, or I'm not fussed with the checky bananas. 1 egg, some natural yogurt. This yogurt is lactose free, and it's one that I made from a created recipe that was on the recipe community. So it's a really good overnight one. Very easy to make. So this is 140 grams. A bit more, some grapeseed oil. And it's saying vanilla paste, but I don't bother with that, especially if the yogurt is a vanilla type yogurt. Okay, and we're going to mix that for 15 seconds, and that's pretty much your prep. Then it's going to go into the loaf tin, and it will bake for 1 hour, and then it'll come out and be beautiful. There is a couple of steps that I don't do. I think one of them is that you put a sliced banana on the top of the loaf and then drizzle a bit of maple syrup over the top. I don't do either of those, and it's still beautiful and sweet and moist. So, Claire, I'm pretty much done now in terms of prep.
Okay, cool. So are you going to put that into a tin?
Yeah, it's going to go into my loaf tin. I can do that now. And then it'll go into the oven for an hour on 160.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you, Deb. All right. Well, I'll bring Kerrie on. Kerrie, and then hopefully, Deb, you'll be able to show some sort of end result, but you may not. We might not have enough time for that. So do you want to show us the batter? Yeah, nice. Beautiful. All right, Kerrie, over to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey with gluten-free.
Hi everyone, my name's Kerrie. I've been a Thermomix consultant for 4 years and a team leader since January this year. I became realized I was gluten-free about 4 years ago. I have Hashimoto's disease, and one of the things that the medical people will tell you, gluten-free is the way to go if you have thyroid issues. So I started on my gluten-free journey at the same time I got my Thermomix. So the Thermomix has made navigating gluten-free a lot easier than what it would have been without a Thermomix. So I'm very grateful that I have my Thermomix in my life. So I do gluten-free cooking all the time. And everybody that visits says, I bet this is not gluten-free. And I go, yes, it is. So you can make things still delicious even though they're gluten-free. Oh, that looks good, Deb. Yeah, so today I'm going to do the blueberry and white chocolate tray bake, which I entered in our Goulburn show last year and we got first prize. So in the recipe, it's not gluten-free, but I'm substituting 1-for-1 with gluten-free flour, and I'm using the one I got at Aldi, which works really good with this recipe. So we're going to start. The first couple of things is just preheating your oven and lining your tray. And then I've pre-done the chocolate. So it was just the white baking bits also from Aldi. And I've chopped them 4 seconds so they look like this. And then the next step, we've transferred to a bowl. I've put in some orange peels. So just the skin off the orange. And then I'm going to add 80 grams of sugar. Sorry, Claire.
That's all right. Each
Sorry.
their own.
I'm just following the recipe. But you could, if you wanted less sugar, you could make it less sugar because of the blueberries and the orange peel. It makes it sweet anyway. Just go 7. And then we're going to grind those two together. And that's what it's done to the sugar and the orange peel. Can you see that?
Sure can. Looks good.
So we're going to, smells divine, that combination. And apparently orange peel has more nutrients in it than the actual orange itself. Called lemon scene.
One of my favorite things when I first got a Thermomix was making flavored sugars and then making shortbreads.
What were you making, sorry?
Flavored sugars and then shortbreads, like milling up
Oh, yeah.
rosemary and something else with sugars and then turning it into shortbread. I think Tanina has that in one of her recipes.
All right. I haven't done that. Okay, so now we're going to add some butter. Whoops. Well, I've had enough out there. I used the butter that I made the other day in the Thermomix because I had some leftover cream in the fridge. So I just turned it into butter in a couple of minutes, made it like into a log. Has anyone else done that? That's very easy to do. Another way of getting rid of lots of preservatives out of your life.
And guys, if you're gluten-free, we'd love to hear from you in the chat, or if you don't have a Thermomix and you've just started your gluten-free journey, let us know. We'd love to, help you get going or learn a little bit more. It can be pretty challenging when you start out.
Yeah. Butter, and then we're going 100 grams of caster sugar. Sorry, more sugar, Claire.
One thing I've found is just replacing that flour in recipes for any recipes that are just, general on cookie dough that you can substitute with the either Woolworths or the White Wings gluten-free flours as well. So they are a good switch.
Yeah. And then we're putting in 3 eggs and a teaspoon of vanilla. Yeah, this is the Aldi gluten-free plain flour that I'm using. I find it works really good as well. I've used it quite a bit.
Have you tried it in pastas or anything, or just baking?
With the pastas, I tend to use the Well and Good
Yeah.
one, baking.
Great. Yeah, so a little bit of a stronger flour for the pastas.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've done that. So going 40 seconds.
So I've got my tagliatelle here.
Oh, that looks great, Sally.
I also have I've got a recipe that's been cooking in the background, which I've scaled down to 2. So I'm not using all the pasta. The other I'll use for lasagna sheets another dark day.
Okay. Can you freeze that like that now or refrigerate it for another?
Well, I'll be very honest with you. We always eat it all at once, but I'm going to freeze a batch today and let you know how it goes. I don't see why not. You can, we freeze pizza doughs.
Yeah. And now we're going to add 220 of flour. And as I said, it says plain flour. I'm using the gluten-free one from Aldi. 220. Whoops. The Caputo one is supposed to be good for pastas too. Sally, have you used that?
No. See, we learn off each other all the time.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
so take our tips because we've been experimenting for a long time.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Baking powder, 1 teaspoon.
I've also just shared a gluten-free flour mix recipe on Cookie Doo. I would probably modify like as I choose my favorite flours, but it gives you a good idea for ratio. So, if there's a starchy flour, then you can substitute that for the starchy one that you want. If there's a more dense one, you can substitute that for a more dense one.
I've got my salt and pepper in the little container of Mix Shop, which is really handy to have next to your Thermomix. It's got a teaspoon in it as well. We've added those. So we added plain flour, baking powder, and sea salt, and we're going to mix those together for 15 seconds. And the screen still works even if it's dirty with flour. And then I've got frozen blueberries this time that I've defrosted. But you could, if blueberries were in season, you could use your fresh ones. And then we're going to add the chocolate that I chopped before. Just going to scrape it the sides first.
Kerrie, do you tend to buy gluten-free baking powder?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Gluten-free baking powder and gluten-free corn flour as well. If I'm using corn flour, that's how it's looking so far. Yeah, so everything I do is gluten-free. So we're adding the chocolate. Next. And it's 20 seconds.
So I've found the gluten-free pastas have been cooking really well in the TM7 with the open cooking, and also, yeah, because of the softness as well of the texture. A lot of the pastas we used to use in packets would have, say, some corn or some rice, and it just seemed to make it a little bit gluggy. So in the background, I've been doing the tagliatelle with pumpkin recipe. It is a TM7 open cooking one. But I basically just sauteed some onion, carrot and garlic. I then popped in some veggie stock and what else went in? Some pumpkin as well to cook. So that's all been going in the background. But my next step is I'm going to pop this into the open cooking so you can just see how quick and easy it is. So you keep going, Kerrie.
How long does it take once you pop that in?
I'd say this is only going to be 3 to 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
For fresh pasta.
Yeah, that's really fast, like compared to like the dry pastas.
Yeah.
That are 15 minutes or so. I'm going to pop this in the Lamington tray from Mix Shop that I've lined with baking paper. And this is what it looks like. So I'm just going to put that into the tray and then I'm going to decorate the top with blueberries. So I'll hand you back to Debra or Clare or Sally.
Yep, I can go to the next step if you like, because I've just been simmering this at 100 with the pumpkin cooking in it. So it's a bit like a sort of a stock liquid for this recipe. And then the pasta is going to go in as well. I am halving it as I go, so I'm just going to put in what I think would be about right.
Okay.
So with the cooking without the lid, if you're new to that, you just set the timer as per your packet, or with fresh pasta, it's obviously a lot less. I'm going to go for 4 minutes and see how it is. And so I'm just going to gently press down. I'll show you with the camera as well what it looks like, just so the steam doesn't come over the camera lens. So I'm just making sure it all cooks underneath the liquid. So it's the pumpkin sort of stock liquid. And I can just hear that bubbling now. So I'll let that do its thing with the open cooking, which is amazing, I think, for gluten-free pastas. Absolutely a game changer.
Yeah, I love it too, especially if I'm using like the pulse pasta, that softens really, really quickly.
Yeah.
So Di, you've put the question in the chat, what type of flour do you recommend for breads? I wouldn't recommend a gluten-free mix from the supermarket for bread. It's not so great. So I would do maybe start with the chia and pepita gluten-free loaf on cookie dough. That one uses rice and it has chickpeas, and so it mills up a few different types. You need some starch and you need some denser grains as well to make a good ratio. So I don't know, Deb, do you have any suggestions? What would you recommend for breads?
Yeah, I make a gluten-free sourdough every couple of weeks for myself, and I use a brown rice starter for that, which works really, really well. And you were saying before, Claire, that between 8 and 10, speed 8 and 10 will give you a really fine flour. I find 8 is really good for the brown rice starter because I like it a bit more crunchy. And then I use a plain flour from the supermarket at this stage, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, awesome. So a plain gluten-free flour from the
Yes.
supermarket. Yeah. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, with the brown rice starter. Yeah.
I've just I'm definitely looking to get into gluten-free sourdough. I've started sort of perfecting glutinous sourdough, thinking I'm just going to start there because that's easier. But yeah, good to know if I do my starter with brown rice. That. Awesome. For any of you guys on here, like if you want to, if you're up for, I didn't know anything about gluten-free. I didn't even know people had allergies or intolerances before I joined Thermomix. And so I've learned so much as a consultant, just being here and learning from the other people in the business. So if any of you guys, whether you want to learn more for yourself, or whether you want to share your knowledge with others, we'd love you to consider coming on board. We don't have enough consultants across the company. New South Wales and ACT, we're about 6% saturation of Thermomixes. If you guys are over in WA, it's a little bit higher because you had Thermomixes before us. But yeah, there's huge, huge opportunity out there for especially our raving fans who love their Thermomix to come on board and share it with others. It's definitely a word of mouth product. As you guys know, you've probably heard about it from, people in your life. So have a think about it, reach out via your consultant or go through the website if you're not connected to someone. All right, who's got anything left?
That's it in the tray, and now I'm just going to add the blueberries on top. So you can make them in a pattern or you can just dump them on, whichever you prefer.
So Kerrie, that looks like quite a thick batter.
Yes, it is. It was really thick pouring it in.
Yeah, so it's more like a spreading one rather than a pouring one.
Yes, I had to get it out in like lumps and then smooth it out in the tray.
Yeah. My bread is actually going to take like an hour and 15 minutes in the oven, but what I might do is just get it out now and show you how it's progressed because that's all you're going to see. Obviously, these mats are amazing, but yeah, I think Amy put in the chat you can get the Fura cast iron by hosting a demo, $60, and you can get any of the options. You can also get a free thermosaver by hosting a demo. They're our amazing double-walled insulated bowls. We've got the updated version where it's got an insulated lid as well. So definitely reach out to your consultant and host as many demos as you like.
I can show the thermosaver as I pour in the finished dish.
Perfect, Sally. All right, so here's my bread so far. Just going to give you guys a little bit of a squiz. So look at that. How cool do they look? Mm-hmm. They are touching, they're kissing in there, but that's not so bad. They're still, oh, look, there's a bit of firmness to them, but I know inside it's going to be a little bit doughy, so it's going to go back in. I didn't time it. I'm guessing I went in at about, I don't know, 1:45 maybe, 10 to.
Okay, so I'm just going to pop the pasta tagliatelle pumpkin into the thermoserver. Again, this was a serving I followed for 2. You can definitely go to 4, so it's going to make a lot more. The other step I prepared earlier is the mozzarella or Parmesan cheese. It's actually a combination of both. Let's pop that on, then I'll show you a photo. So give this a go if you haven't done already, if you've got a TM7, and you will be, there we go.
All right. So we love to get a photo at the end of our session. I can't show my bread because I've just put it back. I should have kept it out, but I didn't. Kerrie, that looks amazing. Oh my gosh, you are so neat and tidy. Look at those rows. Mine would be like dotted all over the place.
Oh, wow.
And then it just goes in the oven. And when you serve it, you do the sifter with the icing sugar over the top. So,
Beautiful.
Comes
Good
up
old
really
Tupperware.
yeah, good old Tupperware. Yep. So yeah, that's the finish.
Okay, ready for our photo? Kerrie, you got to get your face in.
Okay. Hang on.
Nice. Awesome. All right, well, guys, I think that's a wrap. Again, let us know, book a demo, get involved. Come on board as a consultant, start cooking some amazing things in the Thermomix that are gluten-free and share them with us in our Thermomixes Facebook groups. So we've got Canberra Thermomixes, the Cartha Wallandilly, we've got South Coast Thermomixes, and we've got the Southern Highlands Tablelands. Now, a lot of you guys don't live in New South Wales or the ACT. You're very welcome to come and join one of our pages. But otherwise, yeah, share your passion for the Thermomix, whether you are in the business with us or not, because everyone deserves to have a Thermomix on their bench, especially if they're gluten-free. So it's been a pleasure as always, and thank you to our awesome team tonight. Thanks, Sally, Kerrie, and Deb for coming on board and giving up your evening. Next month is keto, so look forward to seeing you then. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.